It's time to pick a side. The border war is on the air with BG and TanMan.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into episode 71 of the Border War podcast. I am the TanMan. I'm joined here in the studio by BG. We want to tell you thank you for tuning in. However you may be tuning in, we appreciate it.
We do.
BG, we're going to get right into business.
Yep.
No need to beat around the bush here.
Nope.
It was a big weekend.
It is.
In the NFL this past weekend, so we'll start right there with you guys. The Carolina Panthers and the Washington Redskins squeak one out.
In a battle of legless, armless midgets headbutting each other with pillowcases. It was an ugly game, man. Two absolutely decrepit offenses.
Well, I get it. That's perfectly understandable.
That's two-thirds of the NFL, to be fair.
But I'll be darned if I'm going to let you stand here and...
You think I'm trying to soften you up for this week's beatdown?
Well, no, I'll be darned if I'm going to stand here and let you take shots at toothless midgets or whatever it was that you said.
Oh, I should. That gives them a bad name.
Yeah, all those toothless midgets out there that are listening to the show are quite offended.
It was. It just looked. This was, and I'm going to say the same thing about South Carolina and A&M. Just two bad football teams, man. I don't care what anybody else says. Both of those games were just ugly to me. Somebody had to win them, and that's all that happened in Washington this week. Carolina made enough mistakes early on to spot Washington 14 points. And if they hadn't done that, we'd have gotten blown out because we basically didn't have any points left in us after that. But, yeah. I mean, the defense played well, but I don't know. When your defense plays well against the Panthers, I don't know what that means. At the end of the game, of course, Cam Newton in a position where he's forced to throw the football. Can't really do it, so we win.
Well, we'll start on the Redskins side of this ball game, BG. You and I have both come on here and really touted you guys' defense and how good you are. One thing that I've noticed, at least through the first, I guess, third of the season now, for all the love that we've given this defense, where are your pass rushers at?
Well,
they have this.
And when we do get a pass rush, it's up the middle,
disappeared.
Right?
I'm talking from the edges.
Right, nothing.
There's nothing there. What's the problem there? Because that could come back to bite you if you've got, And the NFC East is wide open. We'll talk about that in a few minutes.
It feels like for, I don't know, the past 5 seasons, Ryan Kerrigan's had 100% of that load on him. And the pressure that I have seen this year has come from the defensive tackle position.
Yeah.
Now, Mike Ioannidis has had a few early sacks, and there's been pressure up the middle, and I love pressure up the middle because for a guy like Newton or a guy like Roethlisberger, a guy like Tom Brady, pressure up the middle is a real problem because they can't roll out of the way, which is what I call pulling a Tony Romo.
Romo would slide out of
patent. Well, late in his career, he had that little barrel roll that he started pulling off. Of course, then he would just sprint to the sideline. But that's not here nor there. I know you don't like it when people criticize your guy.
We're not doing that.
I'm going to let that go.
We're not doing that.
But no, I mean, I agree with you. Newton had all day to throw the football. That's just good for us that he can't really do that.
Josh Norman finally showed up for the first time in 2 seasons. He had a big day.
Because he got called out by a lot of Redskins media last week. Including D'Angelo Hall, who basically came out and said he thought he was more interested in being a Dancing with a Star than being a professional football player at this point, which probably is true. I mean, Josh has definitely courted the spotlight as of late, and he's probably a guy who's going to have a career after football because of it.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of like we've talked about with LeBron. I'm not sure Josh Norman's emphasis is on professional football, but he clearly came with some effort on Sunday against his former team.
There was a little extra there.
Cam didn't act like he wanted to talk to him after the game. I don't know if you saw that clip.
I did see that. I saw he didn't really want to deal with DJ Swearinger at the end of that thing either there, too.
Well, most people don't.
But the Washington offense, it seems like when Adrian Peterson is...
And that's it. That's all there is.
Nothing. He's running well. You guys win, and the wins that you have, Peterson's averaging 103 yards, and in the losses, care to take a gander at what number he's averaging in losses?
I'm going to say fewer than 40 yards a game.
13.
Oh, wow.
He's averaging 13 yards off.
So if you can shut Adrian Peterson down, you can beat the Redskins.
That's it. So, with the NFC East wide open, really, and this week between the Panthers playing Philadelphia and Dallas and Washington playing one another, this is going to go a long way, I think, towards deciding some of this stuff. Is that something that you guys are going to be able to get past? Because I'll be honest, Peterson came up with almost 100 yards Sunday, and I wasn't sure he was going to play. The way they talked about his injuries the week before.
I think it's a real problem. I still don't think we've really solved losing Geis for the season. I think that was going to make our offense a lot more dynamic than it has been. And I mean, win or lose, I've told you this. I don't think the Redskins look like a well-coached team. The play calling is very, very vanilla, and we've got the right quarterback for a vanilla
offense. I was going to say, you went out and got the quarterback to run that.
But, I mean, I still don't think – I don't have a problem with what happened because I still don't think Kirk Cousins was worth what we were going to have to pay him to stay. And frankly, I don't think our record or our season would look one iota different than it does right now had we kept him.
Well, I wonder if Minnesota is saying the same thing.
Well, of course they are. I tried to tell them.
You did.
I tried to tell him. And I mean, he's been good. But he is a between-the-20s quarterback, man. When you get him inside the red zone and you put any kind of pressure on him at all, he makes terrible decisions with the football. And, that's one thing Alex Smith hasn't done. Now, he's already thrown as many interceptions this season as he threw all last year, but he's well shy of the pace that Kirk Cousins set during his 4 years starting in D.C.
Yeah. Well, on the other side of this, the Carolina Panthers, if you dig around – and not, you don't really have to dig around that deeply, but it seems that the bane of a lot of Panther fans' existence right now is Ron Rivera.
Yeah, they're not happy with him.
They're not real happy with him. A lot of questionable play calls, particularly the punt on 4th and 1 when you have a 6'5", 245, 250-pound quarterback that really wound up coming back to bite them. Because I think they punted. They got a stop. You guys punted. They fumbled the punt, and you guys end up taking over with some really good field position there.
Well, and that's what I was going to say about this game in general. I feel like the Panthers lost this game. I don't feel like we won it.
Yeah.
They committed unforgivably stupid turnovers that really gave us points. I mean, the first 7 points of the game were basically gifted to Washington, and then the end of the game was sort of gifted to Washington. And despite that, the Panthers had a chance to come back and win. They're clearly a better team than the Redskins, but they did not play well Sunday.
The question I was going to ask is Ron Rivera holding this team back? Because for years everybody kind of fell in love with this gambling play called Riverboat Ron stuff, but I feel like this was an opportunity for Carolina to really make a stand.
Am I the only person, though, that thinks...
They just kind of fell flat again.
I mean, tell me whether you agree with this, because I've been thinking this, I don't know, for the better part of my NFL fandom. Even when I was a kid, I remember thinking this, and I think the same thing about NFL kickers. Like, we let coaches go, we let kickers go, we get new coaches, we get new kickers. I mean, 90% of the time, I don't think you can tell if it makes any difference at all. Am I wrong? I mean, there are coaches that obviously do make a difference.
Listen, I don't know. As a Cowboys fan who's been watching Jason Garrett for twice as long as he should probably have been there, I think in the NFL it's one of those places where, coaches can make a huge difference.
But, I mean, how many difference-making coaches are there, I guess is what I'm saying, because it's sort of like my dad always used to tell me, son, if you quit a job, make sure you've got a job, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're going to fire a coach, who do you have lined up, or are you going to fire a coach and just see who applies? I mean, because, I don't think either of our head coaches are really all that impressive, and I don't think Ron Rivera is all that impressive.
I think it goes both ways. I think you have some coaches who make a big difference on the positive side.
Yeah.
The Bill Belichick.
Sure.
I think the world of Mike Tomlin, even though some Steeler fans are not that crazy about him right now. And then I think there are
Andy Reid. I think Andy Reid is another one.
And then I think there are a lot of coaches who are just flat terrible and
Jim Schwartz.
Make an impact the other way. Jason Garrett. I think Garrett is a terrible head coach.
Okay, so where do you put? Well, let's flip back to the Redskins. Where do you put Gruden on that scale?
On that scale, I think I would put him.
I think he's sort of a break-even.
That's what I'd put him right in the middle. I think there are coaches who make a big difference in a positive way. I think there are a lot more coaches who make a big difference in a negative way, and then I think the vast majority of them are,
Okay, so where do you think Ron Rivera falls on that scale then?
I think Ron Rivera would fall on the upper half of that.
He's always been a defensive guy. Their defense continues to play well.
I would put Ron Rivera closer to that top group than I would the bottom group. He's had a lot of success in Carolina.
No question.
He's had 13-3 season. He's had a 15-1.
If you really think about it,
he's been to
the Panthers.
title games.
The Panthers have had good head coaches from the outset.
Yes, no, I don't know that they've ever.
The Panthers
had a bad.
Is George Seifert the worst coach they've ever had, and he had success?
Yes,
John Fox, obviously, that was the best stop he had by far. Don Capers,
John Fox also went to the Super Bowl in Denver too.
He did.
So John Fox is a good football coach.
But he wasn't in Denver as long. That's all I'm getting.
So if I were gonna put Ron Rivera in one of those categories, I would put him closer to that top category than I would the middle category. The only thing I would say is the Panther fans that are kind of on the anti-Ron side, I will say he could be a little more aggressive sometimes.
Yeah.
You've got a physical monster back there at quarterback that the rest of the league doesn't have, and sometimes I feel like he does get a little conservative with him.
Did you see the tweet? I don't remember who originally. I retweeted it this week. I thought it was hilarious, and it said, lining up running backs as wide receivers or running backs going forward on fourth down. It listed all these, things that are considered cutting edge in the NFL, and they're like, Madden players have been doing this for 15 years. And at first you kind of laugh, and then you start thinking about it, and you're like, you know what?
4th and 12 from my own 28? Yeah, I got something for that.
There used to be a long time ago, back in 2005, 2004, sometime in there was an article on NFL.com, and I can't remember the guy's name. And it seems like it was called Monday Morning Quarterback, but it wasn't Peter King. It was before he started doing it. I think he inherited that article. But the guy did all these statistical analysis. And I remember one of the things, this was back when Brady and the Patriots first started really becoming a dynasty. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about how if you blitzed a Tom Brady offense, like what percentage of the time he just ate your breakfast, like that you had to play coverage against the Patriots. And one of the things I remember from that article is him talking about how stupid it was to not go for it on 4th and 2 or fewer. Like that the success rate in the NFL was like 90% on those downs. That basically there was no way for a defense to really stop you on 4th and 1. And just that punting was the most overrated thing, and he had numbers to back it up.
Yeah,
how often you punted and it was returned for at least half that in returns, and so what you were risking was really 18 yards or something like that. So I think that you're right. Rivera probably can, but that's what happens, right? You stay in a place, you do become more conservative, you do become more afraid of losing your job.
Look, I just find it odd because they spent the first round pick on DJ Moore, and they went in and actually made an effort to get Cam Newton weapons, and they're turning the run game over to Christian McCaffrey, and they're very they're very open with how they use him a lot of time, and and then you get games like this Sunday. I don't get it.
Well, I think one thing, and I almost never say anything about the Redskins that's good, it feels like. I don't think they're a very good team. But I do think the Redskins' interior defensive line causes people a lot of problems at the point of attack. I think Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen they're owning most guards and centers, and that line is getting pushed around. And for a sort of run-based team like the Panthers, that can be a problem. But it just seemed like they still aren't to the point where they really want to admit that Cam Newton needs to run the ball 20 times a game. He really does. I mean,
he threw 40 times on Sunday,
and that's never. As I said,
good. We've talked a lot,
and for most teams, that's not good.
About the perfect number for certain quarterbacks, and 40 for Cam Newton is entirely too many.
Whatever his magic number is, that's well north of it.
Yeah, it just seems like an awfully high number.
I would think his number's down around 22 to 25 times per game, something like that.
Yeah, somewhere between there. But as it stands, you guys got the win. You're still hanging around the top of the NFC East and the rest of the NFC East. Speaking of big numbers, the Dallas Cowboys hung one up on the Jaguars on Sunday, 40 points. I'll admit, I didn't see that coming. I think that the team that you saw Sunday was a lot closer to the team that I thought that we could be to start the year.
And let's not overstate what happened. Dak ran the football. That's what happened.
That's a big part of it.
I mean, he had 80 yards rushing. His passing numbers really weren't any different. This is a game that you really couldn't understand looking at it statistically. And let's also say, and it could be, you can give Dallas's defense credit, but Jacksonville looked as bad on offense in that game as I've seen a team look on offense in a long, long time. Well, Blake Bortles was non-existent.
Well, I tell you, you teased me about it last week. I've been big on the Jaguars.
Yeah.
Last week they go to Kansas City, and the defense let them down. I mean, let's call it what it is. Their defense let them down.
Maybe a little bit of a hangover against the Cowboys. Obviously,
I don't know if it's a hangover. I think they just got punched in the mouth. I think some of this is on Dallas, but some of this is on the Jaguars' defense because I know that they're better than that.
Oh, sure.
But now this is 2 weeks in a row now that your defense has gotten torched.
Yeah, you really
a big problem for them.
Would like to not see 40-7 scores in the NFL, period, but we've seen a few of them this year.
Seen a few of them. The first half, like you said, Dak Prescott did a lot more running of the football, took a little bit of that pressure off Ezekiel Elliott, but the offense, in the first half, we had 4 possessions in the first half. Each possession went for, I think, at least 48 or 50 yards. Each one of them had at least 3 first downs, and each one of them.
And the Cowboys played on a short field often because the Jaguars could not do anything. But like if I had told you Dak was going to go 17 for 27 for $180 in this game,
2 touchdowns, and no picks?
No, I wouldn't have told you that part. I'd have just told you 180 yards, 17 for 27. You'd have been like, well, here comes another one. You can't admit it, man. Just tell. I'm right.
Can't admit what?
That you'd have thought you were going to lose.
Well, if you only tell half the story,
but that was a true statement.
No, you omitted.
Okay,
you omitted. If you told me,
I would love to go back and know how many games you guys have won this season and last season where Prescott threw for fewer than 200 yards. Probably almost none.
If you told me the box score and you said Ezekiel Elliott ran for over 100 yards and had a score, and Dak Prescott threw 2 touchdowns and no picks and had 183, 185 yards, I'd say we're probably in pretty good shape. It's the not turning the ball over. The 2 touchdowns and the no picks, that's the key. We can live with him being somewhere between 180
I agree.
180 and 210, we can live with that.
But I'm just saying, that's been the number everybody's pointed to every week.
It is.
And let's be honest, I mean, statistics don't always tell the story of a football game. But I think you're right. Dak Prescott has to run the football for your offense to work. And we haven't known that exactly, but we've known there was something missing from this offense.
It's got to be, it's got to be a component of the offense to keep defenses honest. Because you've seen Carolina game, for example, the first week of the season. Teams will just put 9 or 10 guys in the box, and if you want to stop Ezekiel Elliott, you can stop Ezekiel Elliott.
Right, and that's what I was going to say.
It's not a problem.
Now we've sort of changed the show a little bit. Back when we used to do it on Thursdays, our sort of focus was always previewing this week's games as opposed to talking about next week's game. But since this is, and we'll do our picks here in a little bit, but since this is Cowboys Redskins week, we're playing on Monday Night Football. Let's talk a little bit about this. Because you're right. If there's a team, I mean, if Dallas thinks they can rely completely on Ezekiel Elliott to run the ball against the Redskins, they're going to find out real quick that's probably not going to work. Mm-hmm. For you guys to win this game, Dak is going to have to do this again. Don't you think?
Oh, definitely.
I mean, he's going to have to get yards on his feet.
The Dak Prescott running the football has got to be a key component because, like I just said, you've got to keep those defenses honest. That has to be something that defenses have to prepare for, and you've got to let them see it during the game. Because, again, if you want to stop, name any running back in the league. If you want to stop the running back, you can stop the running back. Just commit enough guys into the box, and that's it.
I think this game is going to be decided by who gets to dictate what kind of game it's going to be. If it looks, without giving away my pick, if it looks like a score fest, if both offenses are really clicking and there's a lot of points being scored, I think you guys have a very, very, very good chance to win it. But if the Cowboys let this game get turned into a ugly punching contest the way the Panthers did, then I don't like your chances very much because those are the only games the Redskins win. Either way, we get the primetime Monday night spot. I think you are happy with the Redskins' choice of uniforms this year, though. We have not seen the gold pants a single time.
Not a single time. We don't play on Monday Night Football.
We do. I thought we were going to play on Monday Night Football.
No, I think we play like 4 something. I think we've got the national televised. We're on CBS.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
But I disagree with you. I know that's shocking. I think we could win an ugly game. I think you guys can't get into a shootout.
No, there's no question about that.
I think if this thing gets up into the high 20s, low 30s, I don't think you guys
unless Dallas is just leaving guys wide open like we did the other night.
But with the way our
stage.
defense has been playing, we're the best defense statistically in the NFC. Yards, points, whatever. We're playing, and basically out of our mind defensively now. Shutting down the Jacksonville Jaguars is not not any great shakes. But our secondary, I think Byron Jones is last year you could see guys getting better. The young guys that we were playing getting better. This year, Byron Jones has turned into a monster. The first 4 weeks of the season, he was grading out as the best cornerback in the league. Then they run up against Houston and DeAndre Hopkins, and DeAndre Hopkins does that to a lot of people. But the rest of our secondary is coming along very nicely. Our two young linebackers, Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch, for so long we were so dependent on Sean Lee being healthy.
Right.
If Sean Lee was healthy, our defense was good. If Sean Lee was hurt, like he is a lot, our defense is bad. Well, now you're seeing kind of Smith and Vander Esch almost like a growing together.
Yeah.
They're kind of coming up together. They were on their A game on Sunday. So if you want to turn it into a fight in the mud, I think we could win a fight in the mud too.
Here's the thing about both of these teams. Both of these teams feel like a coin flip every week. When you kick the ball off, you have absolutely no idea which version of these two teams you're going to get. Both of us have won fairly impressive games. Both of us have lost ugly games. You're tempted to say the Cowboys have figured this out, but we said the same thing 2 weeks ago, right? The offense looked a lot better 2 weeks ago than it looked last week. I would be surprised if Cole Beasley just goes off on the Redskins again.
Cole Beasley, he might have 250 yards.
Okay, so we're doing that thing now.
What thing?
We're just
Cole Beasley is amazing. It's fantastic.
It's difficult to argue with you when you don't agree with yourself.
Look. I do think that going on the road could be a problem for the Cowboys.
There'll be 30,000 Cowboys fans there.
There
easily.
will, but there should be 30,000 Cowboy fans everywhere because we're
except
America's
in
team.
Washington, because that was never the case before.
Dak Prescott on the road and Dak Prescott at home lately have been two different things. If we can get a Dak Prescott closer to the home Prescott on the plane and take him to Washington, I really like our chances. If we get the road Prescott, then we could be in for a long afternoon.
Yeah.
So we'll say that. But like I said, the NFC East, you've got Carolina and Philadelphia this weekend. You've got Dallas and Washington this weekend. It's time to...
Who do the Giants play? Not like it matters.
It doesn't matter.
Well, but it probably means somebody's going to beat the Giants. So if it's somebody that's in the NFC South, perhaps it might sort of be in our box. Because the Giants look...
They're horrific.
Yeah, they really are.
They're horrific. And listen, I know this is out of the box, and we'll get to our NFL picks here in a few minutes. Listen, the New York Giants should probably really consider whether or not to just, mercifully end Eli Manning's career in New York, because this is not good.
Yeah,
man.
It's time for a complete and total rebuild.
You watch that. You watch that thing. You watch the Giants play, and I've never been an Eli Manning fan. I've certainly never been a Giants fan. But it's almost like you're watching somebody beat up on the, like an old man, like a shell of their former self. It's like he can't defend himself.
Yeah, well,
he's a boxer who cannot defend himself in the ring.
A lot of people picked them to win that division this year, but
I didn't see that one.
No, I didn't. I thought they would be better than this. And to be fair, like, this season is still very, very young. I mean, the Redskins could maybe they might only win 3 more games. You guys might go on a tear and finish 10-6. I mean, who knows?
Saquon Barkley is the real deal.
It was not in retrospect, it was not a good pick.
No, so Saquon Barkley is the real deal, and he's going to be amazing for
somebody else. Probably.
Well, he'll be amazing wherever he goes for another 10 years. But the New York Giants missed the opportunity to take Sam Darnold or even Josh Rosen. They missed the opportunity to jumpstart the post-Eli Manning. Could you imagine how things would be up there right now if they had Sam Darnold sitting on the bench that they could turn to him?
You would.
I mean, it's.
You certainly would feel like you already had a major piece in play for the future. Running back's not going to get you that.
No. Like I said, he's a beast, but they really missed the golden opportunity there. So like I said, big weekend this week coming up, for the NFC East and the Carolina Panthers, because they've got to get back into it. They can't give up. They can't give away too many games in that division with New Orleans. Last week, we'll make our NFL picks. Last week, BG, you went 6-4, so let's get to it.
Why just my score? What did you do? Why did you skip it?
The people don't care. The people don't care.
I can't.
That doesn't matter.
2-8, people. 2-8 for the TanMan.
Yeah, as Jay Wright said after their Final Four win over Kansas last year, sometimes you make everything, and sometimes you sleep in the street. And buddy, I was smack dab in the middle of the road without a blanket.
The sad thing is that you went 2-8, and I'm still not winning. That's the sad thing.
So we'll make our NFL picks. First one on the list, the New England Patriots. They got a big win last night against the Chiefs.
And the Chicago Bears having a pretty bad loss.
Yeah.
Not a game. You have to learn to win that game. That's a game the Bears have to win if they're going to be taken seriously.
Well, they're getting 3.5 points this week. To the victors go the spoils, BG. You taking the Patriots or the Bears and the 3.5 points?
I think the Patriots win this game, but I think the Bears keep it close. I like them rebounding at home. And the Patriots sort of get that effort from everybody. So I think the Bears cover the points probably just by 0.5 point.
So you'll take the Bears and the points then.
Yes.
I'm going to take the Patriots. I think they beat the Bears. I think that was a disappointing loss for Chicago. Miami is a team that I don't know how Miami is doing it.
They're not doing it with Ryan Tannehill.
I said, didn't Brock Osweiler
Yes.
start Sunday? I didn't even know Brock Osweiler was still in the league. I really didn't.
Talking about a career that has fallen off the rails quickly.
Yeah, I didn't know Osweiler was even.
Was he
still
the highest
in the
paid
league.
quarterback in the league 2 years ago today?
Probably.
I think
pretty
so.
Close.
I think so.
No, I think that was a disappointing loss. I think it'll take the Bears a week to come out of that funk. Maybe so give me the Patriots on the road. Give the 3.5. Next up, we talked about it a few minutes ago. Panthers at the Eagles. The Eagles favored in this one by 4.5. Philadelphia is just kind of middling around like everybody else in the NFC East.
You feel like it's going to click at some point, and you just don't know when it's going to happen.
Yeah, you think it is, but the Panthers.
That's a lot of points.
That's a lot of points, man. I think Philadelphia wins the game. I think it's tight. So give me the Panthers and the 4.5.
I'm going to take the Panthers in the 4.5 too. I don't see that game being that big of a win either way.
Next up, we got the Saints, the Panthers' rival in the NFC South. The Saints going to Baltimore. Baltimore giving 2.5. Did you see their defense on Sunday?
I did not. I saw the score.
big pickup for the TanMan's fantasy team. The Ravens, 21 fantasy points this past weekend.
Holy cow.
Pitching the shutout. They're not shutting out the New Orleans Saints.
No, nobody is ever going to
They're
shut
not
up.
shutting out the New Orleans Saints. Give me the Saints. I'll give you the 2.5.
Boy, that's a tough one.
At Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Ravens. It's not just me being contrary, and I think that team's got a lot of talent. I sort of feel about this one like I did about the Chargers going on the road against the Browns last week. I knew that would be a beatdown, and you did not.
And we got the Bengals and Chiefs, I think, on Sunday Night Football. The Bengals going to Kansas City. Another team coming off of a difficult loss.
Yeah.
Kind of a little controversial there with the Antonio Brown touchdown. The Chiefs giving up 6 points to Cincinnati, another huge number. The Chiefs.
It's an ugly pick, man.
Because you wonder, they go up to New England. They are just kind of okay in the first half. They have a big second half. New England gets out of there with a win like they always do. But now the Chiefs are coming back home.
But they're 5-1. They definitely held their own up there. They scored a ton of points.
Yeah.
I don't think they're feeling bad about themselves here.
So what's the pick, BG?
I'm going to go with the Chiefs.
Chiefs?
I think the Chiefs beat them by 7. Yeah, I think so. I don't see Andy Dalton's offense being able to hang with that.
So you're not a fan of the Red Rifle? Or
I think he's taken a lot more heat than he deserves, but he is an average NFL quarterback. Pat Mahomes is not.
No, well, I was way wrong on that.
Oh, he's a phenom, man.
Oh, my goodness. I agree with you. I'll take the Chiefs. Coming back home, like I said, you don't believe in moral victories, but they did go up there. They certainly did not embarrass themselves in any way. Give me the Chiefs. I'll give you the 6 points. And finally, Sunday afternoon, the big boy, the Cowboys at the Redskins. The Redskins giving up 1.5 points.
Washington has not played 2 good games yet. Until they do, I don't buy it. Give me the Cowboys.
I will take the Cowboys as well. Like I said, I think we could win a shootout if you want to shoot it out. I certainly think that we could win a slugfest in the teens if that's the way Washington wants to play it and that's the way it works out. I think we would be just fine with that as well. So I will take the Cowboys to get the big win in that one as well. So that's it for episode 71. Make sure you tune in. Episode 72 will be up for download sometime later tonight. I want to thank you for joining us in this one. Make sure you tune in to stadiumscene.tv and go check out some of the other podcasts. I know some NBA podcasts are up there. That is starting tonight. Go make sure you follow us on Twitter at The Border War.
We will have some basketball talk next week, and up next today we're going to do some college football, right?
Are we going to talk about Jake Bentley?
The entire time.
And over.
Hashtag Carolina Media. Gamecock Media.
Oh, my goodness. You Bentley haters. Make sure you like and share our Facebook page as well, guys. Help us get the word out because, trust me, if you heard what we did yesterday,
in the upstate of South Carolina, you have no other options. We're the best you can do.
We are it.